What a blessing to see you in so many different modalities today. Namaste. So this is our first 9-day retreat in the Sat temple, in the Satya Mandir. And the presence of the Sat's tangible for me, very tangible. So I have no idea what this broadcast is going to be, but I feel its potential in my cells as we launch into this deep dive. It truly is a deep dive into the very fundamental organization of ourselves as consciousness. So we're going to have a sequence of things. We have consciously set up the spaces you are in. Even those of you who are remotely, we're going to speak exactly to how you manage your place, the space that you're occupying, outwardly, as well as inwardly, as we dive into how to prepare ourselves to support the manifestation of the opportunity of the Sat 9-day retreat. We're going to evoke a force, the force of Sat, the pure, essential, first force, the Word of God, the first expression into existence. So I will bring that in. Those of you who have been aligned with me, it will come in to you. It will come into those of you who are open and willing, who are ready to go beyond the boundaries of yourself as you know yourself, of reality as you know reality. So it's an invitation to change the very fundamental paradigm you exist in. You have a role to play in this. You are the co-creators. By honoring the structure we will speak to, the schedule, and each other, you'll come to a place of receptivity naturally, because all your actions here are dedicated, are acts of sacrifice, to be present with a possibility that you sense, that you have access to, and that you long to deepen. So together we join collectively to create a space that's not limited to where you physically are, but where we all are together, and perhaps to some extent where all of us together as humanity are. So this is the power that comes to us when we recognize the truth of what we are, our ability to create a new paradigm for existing, a new paradigm for living, and to move simultaneously into a direct and immediate relationship with the reality that lives you, me, and everything. Okay, so we're going to start with Sahazamati. She's going to go over the guidelines and some parts of the structure. And then I will come back and speak more to what we're doing here together. Okay, thank you.
I have over 7 people.
There's a problem with her mic.
Oh, it wasn't.
That's surprising.
Okay, we're here.
You're
So
here.
I'll start over again. Welcome to everyone who's here today, online and in person in Mundekulla. It's good to see very familiar faces, and both Satri and I wish we could be there with you. However, next year Mundekulla will be in August, so we will be there. So giving you advance notice. We have over 70 people participating in 3 different programs. We have those of you in Mundekulla, we have those of you on remote, and then we have a larger group that is just doing talks only. They're on Crowdcast today, but they will join us for the completion on the last day.
Don't forget, we have a 4th group. right here
Oh.
physically with us.
Oh, I am so sorry, you guys. In front of me, I don't know if you can show them, Dinananda, but we have
Too many
residents
cameras.
here from
Washoe Valley.
Washoe Valley. There. Can they see them?
You're seeing them now.
They're seeing them. So,
All right.
yeah. So we were lucky to have Sri Ma join us also, and Janet as guests. So this is pretty special. Okay, and I have to congratulate Narashima on getting yourself there. An amazing journey. Clearly, there was an intent, and you were going to make sure that it happened. So we've been following you every step of the way. So congratulations. And I'm sure it'll be the same way coming to Washoe in a few weeks. Okay, so now I'm going to get serious. We're going to talk about guidelines. I don't know, Yannicka, if you went over guidelines, but I'm going to do the general overall guidelines. So these are guidelines to support you creating the most valuable retreat experience ever. Okay, so for those of you on remote, we ask that you set up a location in your home where you will be undisturbed for each session, undisturbed by family members, friends, pets, etc. during the sessions when you're online. We ask you to take into consideration where you're sitting in your room so that where you're sitting, you're not backlit so that we can't see you. Oftentimes it's just a nice, beautiful light, but you can't really see the person. If you're using a phone to listen in, we ask that it is stabilized on a surface so that it doesn't fall over and disrupt, because it will disrupt the whole program. You will be muted during broadcast times. You'll be directed when to unmute yourself remotely for interactions with Satri or in the small groups. So basically in the 9-day, there are no interactions unless you're in a small group or until the last day or day and a half, depending on when we start completions. Except for the use of your computer to access broadcasts, we ask that you do not use any electronic devices during the duration of the retreat. Kindle use is okay. And any problems or questions involving the broadcast needs to be sent to newdharma.audiovisual@gmail.com. It's on your paper, it's on your materials on the participant page. So you should have access to that. So online and in-person retreat guidelines. We ask that you review the schedule. I no longer review the schedule for the 9-day. There are 3 or 4 separate schedules. You all have your appropriate schedule. Memorize it, review it. Okay, we were still making some last-minute corrections even today. Avoid distractions during the sits. Stay focused on what is happening inwardly. Honor what you are trying to create for yourself during this retreat. Remain inwardly silent and outwardly quiet as possible during the retreat, except during small group meetings or during Satri interactions. We ask that you conduct no other spiritual practices during the silent sittings, such as mantras or prayers without Satri's approval. Did you want to say anything about chakra or elemental?
I've given instructions of those of you who are practicing the elemental techniques, but the no chakra techniques during the program. If you have a mantra that's come from me, or you're using a mantra that's come from me, you can use those.
Okay. We ask that you avoid alcohol or caffeinated drinks, no drugs except those prescribed. We ask that you not fast during the retreat, and we also ask you to abstain from sex or smoking during the period of the retreat. Okay. And if you have a question, you want to raise your hand, we can answer it too now. Okay. Janet.
You can practice the elementals during the retreat.
Yeah, you can practice your elementals, but not chakras.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, so silent sitting. Silent sitting is not necessarily meditation. It is a conscious effort to be still and silent, outwardly and inwardly. There will be 3 silent sittings each day of 2 hours each. So here are the guidelines for these sessions. We ask you not leave the room or online retreat during the sitting. You may leave the room or broadcast after Satri has left. For the silent sitting, you can sit on the floor or in chairs. You can recline, but no laying down. Now, a couple of people have, because of medical conditions, have permission to lay down when they need to. So that is not an issue. But the rest of you, you're sitting up. Be comfortable, but not so comfortable that you fall asleep. And we ask you to try not to fall asleep. It's not always possible, but it's best not to sleep. And silence and stillness are interrelated. It is best to move as little as possible as it helps the silence to build. It also avoids disturbing others on the broadcast. We ask that you do not leave to go to the bathroom, that you do so before the sitting. No drinks in the room except water. No reading or writing during the sits. Notice your reactions, feelings, and thoughts throughout the 9-day. Record these along with any insights, revelations, or realizations. What we've found over years of doing this is that you'll have things that will come to you. And the best thing to do is just write it down after the fact. Because if you think, oh yeah, I'll remember that amazing experience or that realization or whatever, and usually you don't. It just becomes a nice faded memory. So if there's something extraordinary, write it down so that you can go back and review it. So the following are recommended exercises to practice during each sitting. So be aware of your breath. Be aware of the energy in your body. Be here now, the present moment. Notice what resists being present. Notice blocks, resistances, pressure, pain, etc. Identify where they are in your body. Put your attention on the location, feeling into the experience until it speaks to you or fades. Notice what is going on in your body. Try to identify its source. The hint is that the origin is not outside of you. And record your insights in a journal. Okay, so that is it for up hands.
There are 2 questions.
Okay, let's do the questions.
One is practice world peace meditation during the 9-day.
Practice world peace meditation.
I recommend not. You can do the mantra, but not the whole meditation. You can do an abbreviated version of the Om Tat Sat technique as well. So don't do them together. We want you in your own system. Though it is very compatible, it can set things in motion beyond what is already going to be set in motion. So the Om Tat Sat or the mantra, but not both together.
Okay, second question.
The next question is regarding yoga. There is someone who does a daily Kundalini practice.
Okay, I couldn't hear that.
Doing it, so someone's doing a daily Kundalini practice.
No.
No. Yeah,
No.
because that set things into motion also.
Yeah.
But just basic like hatha yoga, that's fine.
Physical yoga.
Any physical yoga.
Exercise, moderate, and everything moderate for the most part. What we're trying to do is allow the Sat force to work in without any intermediaries. It works only fully in its pure expression in silence and stillness, where you stay open and allow it to do the work rather than you do the work. So that's the main orientation to take. You're going to be receiving. So in the attitude, in the relaxation, in the letting go, into trying to not hang on to something that happened before or anticipate something you wish to happen or be judging where you are right now. Is to keep staying in the present time, staying open, staying present, and then take it, go where it takes you, rather than put a direction in it. Okay.
Okay. So are there any questions about the guidelines? Have we covered that? Okay. So Jaya, is now going to come up and review the small group guideline. There she is. Do they have to do it from there?
There you go.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, hello. I can see everyone in the room and I can't see you online, so I'll just look into the camera here.
Well, we can see you. You're looking great.
A movie star.
I'm off to a good start. Okay, so I'm going to review the small groups, just a bit about the intention of small groups, and then logistics for both the in-person and online small group. So we talked about it a bit here, but the small group is really our chance to show up in immediacy with whatever is happening for us and share with our fellow travelers. There's nothing we need to do to prepare. We just have to show up with willingness and availability and speak into the room. So I'll give you the logistical information, but if you're new to small groups, there's not much else you need to know. So the guidelines are on small groups are in the guidelines on pages 4 to 6, but I'll just read a bit here. I'm nervous. So the small groups are conducted in a spirit of equality, and we're all equals. We're all traveling this journey together, and we get to share that with each other. All registered participants in the full online and in-person retreat are assigned to a small group. Each group will have 6 to 8 participants, and here at Mundekulla we have a bit smaller groups, so we'll have about 5 to 6 in the group. And the facilitator will give you an introduction to the format, the guidelines, the common agreements, and more specifics when you meet. The entire small group lasts for 90 minutes. So if you're in the online retreat, the small groups meet on days 4 and 7 from 9 to 10:30 a.m. Pacific time, which is 12 to 1:30 Eastern, 6 to 7:30 CET. So that's in the schedule. You can double check that. We're meeting here in Mundekulla. The small groups meet days 4 and day 7, 9 to 10:30 a.m. And again, that's on the schedule. And then there'll be a follow-up small group for online and in-person participants that will be done online. And that is on the 28th, which is a Tuesday, and that's at 11 Pacific, 2 Eastern, 8 Central European time. You won't remember that now, but your facilitator will email that to you, and it's also in the schedule. So just a couple more logistical things. The small groups are recorded. The recordings are shared with Satshri and trainers supporting the retreat. If anything arises for you during the retreat that needs extra support, we talked about that here in person, but online you can contact your facilitator, small group facilitator, trainers supporting the retreat, or newdharma@gmail.com if there's anything you need support for in the retreat. So in the online retreat, you'll be sent a Zoom link for your small group, and that's different than the Zoom link you use to join all the other meetings. So make sure you watch for the email from your facilitator. You will receive that email either today or tomorrow, day 1 or day 2. If you haven't received it by the end of day 2, then email Natalie in the office at newdharma.office@gmail.com. So if you haven't got that email by the end of day 2 from your facilitator, and we'll make sure to find your group. You need to have your own computer or electronic device for the small group meetings. So if you're joining with another person, make sure you're joining on your own. And we strongly recommend you to have a quiet and private space for the meeting. We also ask that you keep your video on for the whole meeting. So joining with your video on and not turning it on or off during the small group. And then for the in-person retreat, we're going to talk more about small groups on day 3 at 7:30. So we'll be introducing the groups, introducing your facilitators, and giving you a bit more information. So I think that's all. If there's any questions, let me know. Okay, thank you all, and I wish you all a wonderful retreat.
Yannicka, can you come up? Yeah, I'd like you to introduce the team to everyone who's online. We'll figure out, whoever's running the cameras today, good luck on how you're going to do this.
Hi there.
Yeah.
I don't
Hey,
see
Annika,
you.
good to see you. Yes.
You're behind me.
I'm everywhere.
Yeah, I
Right, so
forgot.
I have a question, Yannicka. Is
Sure.
is it a regular TV screen or was it the projector screen?
It's a projector screen with a huge
Okay.
projector.
Huge projector screen. Okay,
Yeah.
good.
So we're big.
This was a big question we had. Look at that. That's
Yeah.
pretty big. That looks like a TV screen.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. So Yannicka, if you could introduce each one of the team, including our AV team, so that everybody knows who's behind the scenes of Mundekulla.
So Siddhartha, would you like to come up? You're coming, I guess, in front of me, so the camera can. Are you on? Is he on now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And Satyajit and Amit, would you like to come on?
Oh yes, this is perfect. We can all see you. This is great.
Satyadev and Satananda. And Kalipriti. And Jaya. This is the core team,
Yeah.
the hardcore team. They are really holding the space. The main people holding the container here. And we have done a little bit of an introduction before and talked a little bit about the importance of being at course and the importance of being on time and as a prerequisite for the container to hold, and that the wholeness and the fastness of the container is a prerequisite to go deep. So, and we also have an AV team here. If you can come up, it's Gabriel and Ramdas, and they have been doing incredible work together with Gitananda. They've been working whole day since they arrived.
Hey
And
guys,
they are
great to see you.
fine-tuning things.
That's awesome. And
Yeah.
Ramdas, I'm glad you're finally going to make it to Washoe Valley. It took a year. This is exciting. Thank you, all of you, so much
Thank
for
you.
taking this on. It's brilliant. So
Thank you very much.
we're looking forward to maybe seeing some of you in November when we come to Amsterdam.
Yes, probably.
Okay.
Okay. So that was wonderful. For me, to see all 10 of those who are holding the space just gives me confidence of how well Mundekulla is being supported. I know each one of them, as I know many of you, but I know their commitment and their experience and their capacity to hold the sacredness of the opportunity. And as Mundekulla, so too here, that we co-created, and there's teams of people that are behind this happening, from staff to AV and to other people who help this come into existence. Go ahead.
Should we introduce the AV team here?
All right, this would be great. Can we do that? Is that adding one more thing to
One more
the
layer.
wizard's palette?
Everybody should see who's doing all the work here. Gita Nand is in the background. They have their own special space in this room. You know, one of the intentions for me personally is to find a way to build community. So this is why we're doing this. Okay.
Very cool.
Oh,
We're floating over the room, honey.
We're floating. Oh, Mr. and Mrs. Bouchard.
The Gitas.
The Gitas and Wendy. Yay.
Wendy. All right. Wendy in Wonderland.
All right. I think we just had
a ceremony, the marriage ceremony for the Gitas. When was that, yesterday?
Wednesday.
Wednesday,
Yes.
here in the temple. So it was truly a magnificent production. And it was the, the husband that pulled it together, but it was certainly a loving contribution to all of us who participated. So it's quite something what is being created.
Okay.
All right, so let us bring us back to our purpose for being here. And we're going to be reading materials that we've read pretty consistently over the years of doing the 9 and 6 day retreats. We keep it simple and repetitive. Everything the ego hates. So we keep it simple and repetitive because it deepens each time you do a 6 or 9 or 4 day retreat even. We're opening a passage, organization of your bodily functions and of your vibrational field and of your emotional body and of your mentalizations and your intellectuals, distractions. And we're creating a penetration into the embodiment of the body, which holds all these other bodies, these other systems within it. So the repetition is a training. It's also an in-training, because every time you're in the field of thought, it is able to penetrate into these parts of yourself and awaken them. Lift the consciousness of the whole of you. Some parts, of course, speak first. Sometimes it's in the awareness. Sometimes it's in the experience. Sometimes it's in the body itself. So this is not new. This is how it works for all who are exposed to transmission. Because what's happening here is transmission. It's not just my transmission or Sahazamati's transmission. It is the one transmission. So we're tapping into the primal, the original, the archetypal principle of intervention. It comes and becomes available for some souls in the course of the development of the awakened beings of the planet. And their purpose is not only for us individually, but for the world. So the intensity and the capacities and the effectiveness of this force is unique and allows us to accelerate beyond the normal course of the evolution of our soul through many, many, many lifetimes, such that this life itself can be the culmination of all those lives. So this is an honoring of that possibility. This is a speaking to it because I've experienced it, because people who are with me experience an acceleration in all aspects of their lives to the process of tying in and linking to this force. So holding and recognizing that all of you, all of your lives are coming to be with you here in this now and each now that arises during these 9 days. That we have created an outward space so that you could be in the place you need to be to receive this unique grace. And this grace itself will take over the otherwise effort you have to make to be here and to endure and to recognize and to include and allow the process that will occur in the course of these 9 days. This will go into your life. This will shift the basis of your childhood. It'll shift the basis of your parents wherever they are in this plane or other planes, and their parents and their parents. It will also open possibilities not only for you in your life, but for all who are linked to you in their lives to whatever extent they're capable. It's a lifting of all boats, shifting of the fundamental level of consciousness in the collective. So even though this retreat focuses on you as a piece of the whole, it is very personal in that way. It is right there with you. we're doing the work for the manifestation of the new humanity. Aurobindo talked about it as the recognition of the supramental that was trying to come to earth. Well, it is here now. And it's taken more and more articulate expression, certainly in this work. And its impact is becoming more effective, more capable, and it's drawing people up out of their incapacities, out of their unworthiness, and making them capable and worthy. And it's not something we do, although our efforts that have been our life efforts to organize our life for a higher good, a higher purpose than our own self-interest, prepare us to be more perfect and more capable collaborators with the process. So part of this is a discovery of that possibility in yourself, but I assure you, what you're going to discover is that which is in the way of that possibility. The intent has behind it a greater purpose to intervene in a peril that's before all of us. So I've noticed a tremendous intensification of the acceleration process that occurs. It takes it over, and as soon as we let it take over, we become capable and worthy. It is a matter of relaxing the positions that we unwittingly have been holding. It's a process of discovering the unexperienced aspects of yourself, the parts of you you have not yet lived, the parts of you that you did not know are running you, the parts of you that are still shaping what's possible and what your past was, what your present is, and what your future would be. It's a fundamental reorganization of that, all of that. It will rise up. It will rise up. Kicking or screaming, your job is to keep showing up each day at each session, to hold that possibility. That is your labor. To honor the sacredness of the structure, physically showing up, setting up your computer, making sure the space is free for those 2 hours of whatever that program may be, to make sacred this time as an action on your part by efforting and applying your intelligent purpose to these parts of your life that might otherwise distract or prevent you from being present with this transmission, with this teaching, with this unified field we will be creating. It will pervade all parts of your life, and therefore those of you who are at home, who are not in a structured environment away from the rest of life, you will find that it will start impacting your environment. Your pets will become scary, or they'll become needy in ways they haven't before. They will scratch on your door. They'll want to be where you are. They won't know why, but they're all being as well, and they know something's happening. You'll find your relationship being triggered very easily when you walk out of the room, or issues where there wasn't an issue before suddenly rise up. Things, you start dropping things and tripping as you're going through doorways. You start not being able to figure out what to eat or not eat. You're wondering why your body is so disturbed and you can't sleep, or you don't know what's happening to kind of find some rest. Welcome to the 9 day. What it is as if you're a caterpillar in the cocoon. And in that place, in that consecration, in that density, a process sets in motion that completely reorganizes and breaks down what you are into something that is yet to manifest. It's a container. It, by design, will be uncomfortable for the parts of you that has comfortable as a standard or a value or a principle. It'll be disturbing for the part of you that doesn't want to be disturbed, that wants their life peaceful, that want to be able to have a nice and relaxed and enjoyable life. You're making a sacrifice in the rest of your life to enter into this cauldron together with all of us in the exploration and the discovery of that which still separates you from that which is your soul's longing, not your human need or desire. It is the willingness that comes from that inner being that you are, that can recognize this as the opportunity of all its lives arising now. When we let that part of us, that psychic being that lives us and has lived all our lives, come forward, then we discover a natural relaxation. We discover a kind of freedom, or I would say willingness, to let what's arising arise, and to keep owning the fact that whatever is arising is not due to anything outside of yourself, but rather a pushing up of things within you, looking for something to cling into. Complaining is always an energetic state. It's a guna. It comes up, and before you know it, you are imagining, looking for, complaining, things to complain about, without knowing you're doing it, until it becomes clear for you, oh, that's something I don't like. That's something repulsive. That's something wrong. So there's these currents that are living us all the time that we may not recognize are actually the antecedents to all those negative emotions and experiences that we otherwise assign outward. So coming to this word, coming to cause, is actually learning to turn inward enough to recognize the arising of what then articulates itself in our old habitual negative patterns. These will come up. Also will come up with your traumas, the things that we met some course of our life when we couldn't meet it, something we could not be with. And then what happens is on top of those structures is all that overwhelms, the too much, the sensitivities, the neurotic adaptations that are trying to avoid having to experience that trauma again. So we learn to dive through the veils of these compensating structures and get in your body, that part of you that's still locked in to that location, in its terror, in its overwhelm, in its struggle, in its defeat, in its diminishment, and meet that as if a lost part of yourself, a piece of you that you have no longer allowing in, to recognize that you now can be with that, where at that time you couldn't be with that. So rather than let the trauma reclaim you in present time, you go back and you reclaim that piece of you that's still stuck in the past time, still stuck in this repetitive pattern. And meet that as experiential, emotional body, the stories and decisions, the disturbance in your system, whatever that may be physically, enough that there's some space there, some newness, something from you now going back and redeeming that lost and abandoned part of yourself. I speak these things not expecting you to remember them. I speak these things not to your mind. I speak these things to set the direction of where we're going. And as Sahazamati reads this material and I respond to it, it's the same thing. We're simply setting the direction. We're laying out the lanes. We're putting up the barriers. We're giving the focus. We're putting up road signs along the way as you travel with me, with all of us, in this accelerated journey, this free way, the way to freedom, the way to truth, the way to unconditional love. So right here, right now, I can see your systems, those of Mundekulla and those here. I can feel the response. Your beings come forward. The energy is building. The sense of that, whatever that may be, it could be disturbing, it could be uncomfortable, it could be a sense of energy, it could be a pressure, it could be an acute structure in the mental that's saying, what the hell did I just do? Why am I here? I'm an idiot. It could be any of these things. But that's here now, in this moment. If you're here in this moment, it too will pass, and there'll be another now. And you don't know what that is yet. We are setting the direction of a possibility that you can't know yet. We're also setting the possibility of you learning to hold that yet to manifest possibility for you. Because in the old way of our ego, we don't want to hold it. We don't want to know it. We don't want to lose what we have. We want to hang on to our imaginings. Learning to hold your own process requires you to be in a different consciousness than the one you've lived your whole life. It requires an awakening, a shifting. Now, shifting happens often with the cords tying it. So there's a shifting of a new possibility coming, but the cording is there simultaneously. There's an ascension and a pull from a descent, from that which is old, that doesn't allow the fullness of that possibility to become articulate, to become clearer for you. So you're in this in-between place, between yes and no. Learning how to be in that in-between place, in yes or no, is the process that will occur in the course of this program. Should you honor the structure, should you keep showing up no matter what, even if you've been vomiting just before the program starts, even if you had no sleep at night, even if you're in a disturbed state, show up to the best you can. I recognize it has happened once in a while that a few people, this gets very intense and they need to seek help. You need to have someone to be with you who can help you hold what's happening. That's the help we're talking about. So seek that, should that start arising. Know that it's not a sign of weakness or a sign of wrongness or anything in you that says they're too busy, they're doing that, I don't want to interfere. Don't believe any of that. Seek the support you may need. For the most part of this program, you will be by yourself. You're going to be traveling the journey that you have been traveling all your lives without knowing it. Every death is the death of all that you knew. Every birth is the coming of the next newness, which will also then die. We're in this journey alone. That the fact that you travel the same journey with others is just secondary, because you have to go through it yourself. Owning what's necessary for you to travel that distance, reclaiming the territory where you gave up your authority for other things, other people, belief systems, ideas, can distract you from recovering that true capacity in you to travel alone, whatever be the cost, to the fullness of that possibility that all your lives you've been seeking. To bring that to this moment as that sacred transitional point, that this now, alone, to face and to meet whatever separates you from that divine possibility you already are. You'll discover at some point that there never was anything to get, but rather something you already have. It wasn't an addition, it was a subtraction, a digging out and clearing the air into the simplicity of your own existence. So be that self-existence, that I am here now, this place, this time. Displace the field of action, displace the field of causality, cause and effect that we all swim in the ocean of things happening and reactions to those things and things that have happened and things that are likely to happen, of cause and effect. And let this be your space and time. The one extended now, where we cross the threshold that separates us from that which our deepest self has longed and sought for. Be in touch with that longing, that aspiration, that purpose. Feel it in your body. As we read these words, stay present, stay inward as much as possible. Just receive it. Be comfortable with your discomfort. Be comfortable with your not knowing. Learn to just allow its arising as it is.
Okay. We're going to review the retreat manual now. All right. Okay. This 9-day retreat is not only a retreat from the world of demand, distraction, and responsibility. It is also a retreat from the habit of your egoic self in order to more firmly establish your divine nature. To create value for yourself, a silent retreat requires a commitment on your part to follow the structure and to surrender yourself to the program. It is an opportunity to go more deeply inward and to relinquish, to let go in ways you have not yet done. It is an opportunity to shed the habit of your ego and enter deeply into that field of being that lives you, your eternal self.
Continue.
Know the sought. Silence and stillness are the qualities of the sought and also the means to attaining it. The purpose of this retreat is to introduce you to the sought by sitting in this silence and stillness. The sought is the unchanging, eternal reality that is the source of you and of all existence. During this 9-day retreat, the sought will become more and more present. A force will be released and felt, consciously or unconsciously. This force is called Satchitananda, truth, consciousness, and bliss.
So this is simply describing fundamental realities I directly experienced myself in the course of my journey, after traveling all through all the other forces that are derivatives from this one force. When I met this force, I was utterly shattered and humbled and undone. And in the recognition of it, it came again and again until it became a name, Satri. And I realized this force, which in its inherent design is all-pervading everywhere, therefore effectively static. It is not a presence. A presence is the supreme that comes from the Sat. It is an essential quality that when you meet it, it's unspeakable. And it has lasting impacts in your life forever. You never recover from meeting it. But I recognize from that static paradigm was this force. And this force, I now recognize, is the intervention force. And it is this and the supreme that holds it, the expression of the Sat that in existence is the supreme being, that I began to recognize what I was becoming and what my role was. So it is this that I bring to you as an introduction, for you to access to whatever capacity you can access, as opening up a crack in the universe for you to discover something that is essential. Because to whatever extent you can, you become a more and more capable channel and instrument for this primal transformative force to come into the world, in you and through you. Okay.
Okay. This force will put pressure on your system. This pressure may expand your awareness and cause spiritual experiences, or you may experience nothing. You may experience blocks, disturbing feelings or thoughts, or not notice anything at all. This pressure is likely to push to the surface the obscurity, resistance, and barriers to the Sat and its force. These are like debris on the rising plume of an erupting volcano. If this happens, you will have to experience these experiences. Any or all of these things can happen.
So this is giving a brief summary of what's going on here. Because when this force descends into this domain, it creates a reaction from the domain itself. But this same principle, sat, exists in the density of matter in the inconscient as the asat. When the sat force comes in, it awakens this hidden power and it starts coming up, awakening. Its more tangible expression is the Kundalini awakening that rises from the lower chakras up to the crown, and where it meets the higher descending force that's coming concurrently. Us human beings are the agency where these two principles come together. This is the key in the world peace meditation, where in the third chakra, in the fire element, is the source of our life energies, is where this force takes tangible embodiment. And therefore, our bodies become the means for these two principles to come together. This is our human power. Our human power is the ability to choose for this union to occur. But because of the nature of ego, which is primarily resistance, is primarily based on fear, is probably in avoidance and denial, it has shut off our ability to allow the asat to come up to meet the sat that's descending. This turmoil is stored in our bodies. Your body carries all those no's, all those can't, all those too muches, all those not enoughs, not thisness. And they have emotional stories, they have content, they have vital body experiences, they have all kinds of repercussions, little less your mind, which will probably seek to obscure the whole thing. It'll try to shut off the whole thing so that what you'll counter when these forces start rising is nothing happening. Here I am. Because the defensive strategies are so embedded and you use the authority of your true nature to suppress these things. So when you come to the place, for example, where nothing is happening, I promise you, a whole bunch is happening. But you're not able to access it because of a life pattern of defensive strategies and adaptations in order to secure your sense of identity. If you just hold the nothing happening as a nothing happening and be with that as a conscious act on your part, then you open up the inherent potential underneath that adaptation to reveal itself. And you'll discover actually the nothing happening is a something happening. Perhaps it's a rigidity in your body. Perhaps it's a sense of illness or dis-ease, imbalance. Perhaps it's an emotional disruption, a physical disruption. At some point, it will peek its head out. And then you will be tested in your ability to hold, to be able to see that that is actually what's going on and not become the structure that's been suppressed or avoided. The nature of this work is primarily this, moving through the veils by coming into a different place of consciousness where our capacity to move through or see through the veils becomes greater than the veil itself. And then we begin to see that the veil isn't us, but rather something that's happening to us. Something that we can experience it as separate from us. And we begin to recover our true capacity, our true freedom, our true authority to choose or not choose, to move into relationship with that. When we come to choice, then we're in responsibility. In responsibility, then we can meet the consequences of our yes or no's and discover how does it serve our greater purpose or not. In this way, you begin to become masterful over the direction of the steering of your attention of what you're making important or what you're making unimportant that is aligned or not aligned with your purpose. Okay.
Okay. Next, it's meet the void. There is a shadow side of yourself, the void. This is a dimension of your nature that is the storehouse of all your avoids, your avoided experiences. In this retreat, you may begin to experience these avoided experiences. This is necessary. These may appear as a familiar negative mood, a depression, or a compulsive pattern of thinking that seems to swallow you. You may feel fearful, anxious, or judgmental, or you may feel irritated or angry. But be alert. These are not ordinary experiences. These experiences are due to the pressure of the thought that is trying to manifest itself in you.
All right, now the other side of this is also happening for you. That means you've attuning to the thought force. And therefore, nothing is arising in the space of the thought that is coming in. It's overtaking you. And you go out where you can't hear anything, or you're not able to be in your body. Because the thought force itself will take you out of your body. If you're not directing it, if you're not choosing to be in your body, you're going to go where it takes you. You're going to become that expanding quality of presence and energetic field. That's not our purpose here. So that's a wonderful indicator of your ability to open to the higher expressions in your awareness, even in your higher heart. The work is in your body. So when you calm the thought force, your job isn't just to surrender, although there will be times where you won't have a choice. You'll be out and gone. But when you do have choice, then you want to bring it into whatever extent of authority you can say and bring it into your body as a conscious movement. Because right now you're going to be up here. You're going to literally have to pull yourself in and make yourself smaller and enter into your system. To feel your throat, your chest, your diaphragm, your gut, your lower chakras, the grounded, the sensations of being in your body as an effort, as a practice, as we look to consciously bring this force in and inhabit it and let it inhabit us. The simultaneous event where we join with it as it joins with us. So this gets to the next part of what we're going to talk about, is how do you wake up? There's two places we go out on. We get out with our ego overtaking us. We lose ourselves with the mood or the thought or the emotion. And we also go out with our spiritual energetic event or experience. In both ways, we go out rather than in. Now, the outness is a sign that the force is working with us not there. And there is a role for that. As a matter of fact, in this retreat, my expectations, about 60% of the time, you're not going to be able to be present with the thought force. It's just going to be doing what it does. And then the rest of the time, you're not going to be able to be present with the thought force because all the shit has risen up and you're overtaken. It's all in your face. It's all in your experience. So we're talking about a transition point where you have enough mastery to choose to be present, to get in your body and to be here now in the sensory world as an experiential place. Because in those moments, you will be fully taking the thought in with you. And when it's in with you, then the quality of your consciousness changes. You come in with a new kind of alertness, kind of a waking quality that allows you to be more present in your human body, simultaneously where you're in your expanded spiritual body. So this is the opportunity. The waking up is going beyond what we normally will seek in spirituality, which is relief from our suffering, relief from our own self-created misery, relief from our ideas and beliefs, and that has a role to play. We need some relief. It's like a resting in our being, a resting in our enhanced sense of connection, whatever resource we have in our own spiritual attainment. Or perhaps just the mind growing quiet and there being some silence and some peace. But to bring it into your body is a choosing beyond your own self-interest, to make your body a partner with you in serving a purpose larger than that, or a greater good. So many of you are mature, many of you have been with me for years. You've come to the point where it's not enough that you can feel the energy and be in these expanded states. We need to consciously own what's left in our system, because it's only through that we can birth the new humanity in us. And the new humanity is endlessly unfolding as we begin to own and release those structures that no longer serve that possibility. So I'd like to use this 9-day retreat in a more awakened way as an invitation for those who have enough presence to be able to handle the onslaught of what will happen over these 9 days, to bring it in and to own that territory in a new way, in a new consciousness. You're beginning to wake up. You begin to wake up to the truth of what you are, not just some small little piece of matter floating in the fulsome of the endless movement of life, but actually the one that holds all that. That is the source of all that. To come to a greater responsibility for being an individual in this time, on this planet, wherever you are. Well, this is where we look to go a little further in this retreat. Go ahead.
Okay. So now wake up. To wake up means to become aware of the suffering you have unwittingly taken on or are creating. To wake up allows you to see what you have taken for granted, the unseen and hidden structures within yourself. Once these are revealed, it is possible to recognize them and to see through them, thus allowing you to remove them, and in the process discover what works, what is real, true, and lasting. This is what it means to get real. You must wake up and reveal these hidden structures in yourself, bringing them into the illumination of the higher consciousness that is generated in this retreat, so they can be clearly seen. By doing so, you free yourself of their hold on you enough to realize them. This allows you to get real, to come to responsibility as the cause of your own experience. It is actually an empowering realization. It is the first step towards a life beyond suffering.
So this is the key. Realization is that even the mind gets it. The last refuge of ego. It hides out and keeps looking for strategies to take advantage of your spiritual awakening, to manipulate it to be another strategy for fulfilling its desires and gaining power, to avoid diminishment, to seek more forms of enhancement. Even the mind gives up. And when the mind gives up, what's there is revealed. And that's realization. That quality of a truly awakened intelligence is what Aurobindo pointed to as the supermental, as that quality of knowing, of presence, of seeing, of experiencing, of recognizing, of revealing, of realizing is inaccessible to you. Bit by bit, as that part of us is met when we choose to wake up, choose to own the territory of our own embodiment, we strengthen that capacity to know, that capacity to be, that capacity to act, and to affect real change in ourselves and others in the world, where the whole of us as a human being joins with that awakened and empowered psychic being to become an agency for this new consciousness, to take over our lives and to become a channel and instrument for that for others. So now this is just some of the key points of what waking up is about.
Okay. Be present. Being here now in the present moment has the power to shift your relationship with existence. It is a power that arises when you drop your habitual patterns of thinking and reacting and move into an immediate and direct relationship with what is arising without a story, judgment, or belief. Being present is how you develop presence. This quality is essential for penetrating into the remaining hidden structures and unexpected experiences that make up the inner void you have spent your life avoiding.
So becoming the presence is the holder. The presence is when you hold something arise without becoming overtaken by it. You develop the presence by coming into present time, where then what's arising is happening the same time you're experiencing or being aware of it. And in that separation, you are the presence. And what is that presence that allows you to hold is what we're bringing forward. So that principle of the Sat force, which I've called the Supreme Being, is a presence, not just a force. It is a quality of present in the now that is the reality itself. When we inhabit that condition of being, we become that, and from that we can see everything else more clearly. We have a power of seeing and knowing and unfolding of that which we attend to, that before could lie hidden, revealing its natures and its depths and its linkages to all the parts of your systems and all the different parts of your human design, your mental and vital and physical components. And in the process, you discover how it's this way everywhere. That your life is a piece of all life. That your knowing, your mind, and your intellect is a piece of all knowers and all thinkers. That your heart is connected to all hearts. That your body is a part of one body, of which this physical universe is an expression. You begin to enter into the domains that are there, that were needed for us to have a body and to exist at all. So it empowers us in ways we can't imagine until it comes. It gives us an effectiveness, a capacity, and a sense of worthiness is not a question anymore. It's never about good enough or not good enough. It's rather an endless seeking for the fulfillment of a greater expression of that presence and that purpose into existence. And that's what it lives for.
Okay. Be the cause. While in this retreat, try not to assign the cause of any unwanted or negative thoughts, experiences, or sensations that may arise to something outside yourself. The retreat, the space, the participants, your chair, etc. Instead, look inward and seek to find the source of what is arising. Enter into whatever you are experiencing by being present with it in the state of presence. Being present is the same as being in a state of presence. The now is a timeless moment and carries inherent within it the Sat itself. Each time you come to cause, the Sat within you is revealed.
Now, what this looks like, you cannot know. What happens in Samadhi is you go out. The world falls away. And sometimes the knower is still there. It knows it's not there. It doesn't know how it knows. Doesn't have that level of self-reflection. But the presence has overtaken your ability to be in your mind, to be in your emotional body, to be in your personality, to be in your story. So this is of Samadhi. And a Samadhi is necessary. You do need to allow yourself to go out, but not for this whole retreat. You need to keep bringing it back and meeting the parts of you that are not in samadhi, who have been discarded and left to one side. And from that state of consciousness, when you choose to bring that back, it's difficult. It's not natural. It's effort. Once you get out of it, you don't want to go back into it. But that choosing to go back into it is the beginning of the mastery, the beginning of meeting that which you don't want to be with, the beginning of recovering that true authority that came with you as a possibility that has up to now been run entirely by your ego. So coming to cause is a process. It's not something you're going to do miraculously one day. Well, maybe, because inevitably there's a certain unfolding of this quality of presence that it brings at some point where we start waking up as a regular event, meeting our ego and how it has shaped our lives in the normal course of our living life. And many of you are in that process. Owning the shit as it arises, being in present time when it arises, being able to claim the authority that allows you to not act or act on that as it arises, to restrain it or to express it. So it's the efforting. We sacrifice the samadhi so that something more perfect and true can manifest in that which is not yet able to be in the samadhi. At some point then, the samadhi becomes present with our awakened consciousness. And we come to a samadhi called Sahazamati, where we're both in the world but not of it, but we're more capable of being fully in the world than before. To fully let everything come up, to fully be in the direct immediacy of what it means to be alive as a person in existence. So let this 9-day also be a field where you explore the territory of what you are by choosing to come out of your absorption and being overtaken. I know that when this first started happening to me in 1998, the thing I knew is don't sleep. And no matter what, for the next number of years, I chose to keep waking up. It would overtake me and I would choose to wake up. And it was grueling and exhausting because I was working my business full time. I was reorganizing my whole life the full time. But I noticed that no matter what, I had energy. That everything I needed to do was there. And at some point I came to the place where I'm always awake, even when I sleep. That there's the waking consciousness is constantly with me. Any moment, any time, it's right there. I just turn to it. I can choose to just be my human personality. I can choose to be this divine being before you. It is this movement that doesn't have an investment, but really simply becomes frequencies of being able to experience and know the nature of this dimension. And of course, for me, it's organized very purposefully. It's organized with intent, not for me, but for you, for all of us. It's never been more clear to me how much it's for all of us than it is now, even as I work with each of you. It's why all of me is with each of you. So this is the state. That's the inherent potential that all us human beings carry. Spirit and matter together, fully human, fully divine. Each assists the other. But to know divine is actually the pathway to becoming fully human. To keep doing human without divinity, it's going to keep you in the human condition. Divinity is the power that transforms the human in us and makes it divine. Okay.
Okay. Listen to the body. It can help to put your attention on the part of your body that is being impacted by these experiences. Notice where the experience is felt in your body. It may be a sensation, pressure, discomfort, pain, or numbness. Whatever comes up, try not to judge it or push it away. Just be present with it without moving or making noise for as long as possible.
Continue.
Pay attention. What sensations, thoughts, or feelings are you experiencing? Pay attention to them. Expand them. Let them fill your attention and be with them, experiencing yourself as the cause and not attributing your experience to something outside yourself, either from the past, the future, or now in the present situation. Do this without taking any action.
So let's do that right now. Pay attention. Be aware of what's going on in your system. Are you in the awareness? Are you in the zone where the spiritual energy overtakes you? Or not? What are the sensations that are going on in your body? You feeling the energy? You feeling the pressure in your back, in the forward parts of you, in your gut, your throat, any other part of your body, in your organs? Can you do that? Is there a story going on? Pay attention. Is there a story? Like, I wish you would shut up because I just want to merge with this. Is there something going on, a repulsion, a fear, a reaction? Is there a pull in your system? Is there a sense of something expanding in your heart, in your body? Are there thoughts? Are you aware of thinking going on? That's the power of your attention. Power of attention is attending, being present with what you're attending to, unconsciously or consciously. This is how we recover our true authority. This is how we begin to recover a power within us that's actually steering the boat, that actually can steer the boat of what we make real and what we don't, what we choose and what we don't choose, what we're attracted to and what we're repulsed by, what we need and that which is beyond our need. Okay.
The experience will begin to speak to you. It will tell you about itself. Keep listening until the sensations, experiences, or thoughts fade, disappear, or break through. This is the process of transformation. At first, this may be difficult, but as you succeed in integrating the force of the thought, it will become easier and easier.
Continue.
So here are some suggestions for listening to your body. Consciously withdraw your attention from outer circumstances. You can do this by closing your eyes or leaving them open, but not focusing on anything. Become aware of your body. Become aware of your breathing. It may help to consciously breathe. Become aware of the energy in your body. Become aware of any pressure, pain, or other sensation. Focus your attention on that, listening to what it is saying.
Okay, let's pause for a bit. All right, so just follow those instructions. Consciously withdrawing your attention from outer, what's going on around you. You can close your eyes or leave them open, not focusing on anything. Become aware of your whole body. All at once, the whole territory, head, shoulders, boundaries, your skin, your behind, the pressure of the chair you're sitting on, any discomfort. Become aware of your breathing. It helps to consciously breathe, to join in with the automatic function of your body, breathing. Become aware of the energy in your body. Notice if it has a location, if it's inward or outward, or is it everywhere? Or is it throughout the tissues of your body, the substance of your physical body? Become aware of any pressure or pain or sensation. Focus your attention on that, but only to hold it. You want to be aware of the pain or the discomfort, holding it rather than going into it, becoming the resistance to it. But you can become aware of the resistance itself, and then you'll forget your pain. Just notice the resistance. Okay, let's go on.
Actualize your true authority. True authority does not come from the ego. Rather, it is an expression of a universal principle that is behind all existence, divine will. This will is the animating force of creation. At its core, it is a will to be, to exist, to experience, to learn, to grow and develop, and ultimately to wake up. It is the force that drives all of existence. It is what animates the creation and in fact lives each of us. When we open to this force, something greater begins to live us. When this happens, we have awakened to the true authority life is. Opportunity life is. Life opens for us. There is this ability to sense new realities, new paradigms for being. With this comes what I call a sense of our responsibility to the world. We discover our purpose, and with it, the clear seeing, the difference we can make, and with it, this a true authority.
So there's the divine will, and then the will that's been overtaken, that divine will that's been overtaken by our ego. So our ego pretty much has its own self-will, self-serving will. Comes from inhabiting a body, which is by design self-serving. It has to survive, it has to succeed, to exist, and that's a worthy cause. But what it does is it shapes everything else of the paradigm of how we think, how we feel, what we see, what we don't see, what we're willing to do, what we're not willing to do, what we eat, what we don't eat, what our choices are and what we don't choose, what we make important and what we don't make important. So our self-will, which comes from our conditioning and our upbringing and our embodiment, becomes the veil of the greater purpose that's behind our life. And it converts it into this for me and mine, rather than for its true expression. It is this self-will, however, that can be converted. It can be converted when the inner being wakes up, comes forward in front of the ego. It usually comes forward from the middle of our heart, but it can also become forward through our awareness, or we become aware of how we have been choosing our own misery as the reality that we make important. We become aware of how incapable we are to live without our misery, without our dissatisfaction, without our diminishment, or our judgments, or our projections about ourselves or others. We discover the perversion of the divine will that keeps making us small, keeps having us be angry at an imagined victimizer or circumstance or person that is the cause of our smallness, without knowing that we've given them the power to do that. It is the part that does not know it has true choice. It doesn't know that it's actually not choosing, or I should say, that it keeps choosing bondage, keeps choosing misery, thinking that it looks like happiness or freedom, imagining that these will last, imagining that they are true when they arise, true love, right? All the stories we write of these things. So the only way we can go beyond our self-will and begin to align with the divine will is through a life of self-giving. When we organize our life not for ourselves but for others, even if it's our children, even if it's our dog, we begin to enter into a field of enjoyment, of the love, of connection. that wouldn't be possible in our own self-serving and witting strategies. We begin to open up to a purpose beyond just our own self-interest, and in that process, open up to this divine will. Learning to surrender to a will greater than our own. You could say it's a journey, not just a recovering of our true authority, which lies on the other side of that. True authority comes only with surrender, of letting go, of getting out of the way, out of the sacrifice of the self-giving. And then even the ego discovers an inherent nobility in its own existence, an inherent worthiness. It's through sacrifice that we convince ourselves of our worthiness, of our divine nature, lying inherent, seeking to grow, seeking to take a stand within us for truth and love in the world, to empower us to have our ego become an agency for its will. And that is the new humanity. We do it by conquering the territory we unwittingly let go of, gave up, surrendered without knowing, and reclaim that kingdom. Okay. So I can tell that something new has been set in motion, that this is going to be a different kind of 9-day. I feel it deeply. I also see it in Sahazamati for the first time. The same presence I'm carrying, she's carrying too. Right now, you notice she's not out as her normal role. She's joined me as a purposeful action on her part. And it's inevitable for all of you who persist long enough to discover what we speak of here in your own direct experience. It does take time, but in these moments, this timeless 9 days, we accelerate the process. May go through years. It's inevitable that when acceleration happens, it's dejection that arises. It's the waking up to the bondage, which is what dejection is. The doorway of the yoga of manifestation pointed to learning how to be with the dejection, because it's like a warp speed. You're traveling through lifetimes in a short period of time. It's impossible for you to know in those moments that it's dejection. But if you stay in the structure, if you just show up each day, you'll come through the other side. And there will be a freedom and expansion until the next set, the next shifting. And you may have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shifts in a 9-day. And then some of them happen before you came, and some will happen after you leave these 9 days. Because it's a push. It's a push. A timeless now that takes you from a past into a present that would otherwise have been many lifetimes forward, or certainly many years forward. So here we are. So we're now here sitting together in the potentiality of this opportunity. There's an energetic field, no matter where you are, that's here with you. It's not just your own. You're joining with all of us, but you're also joining with what this being brought in. So we're now going to sit silent and still. We're going to spend the next half hour exploring the domain of what it is to be here right now on this threshold. And from now on, we will be silent. If you're in your life, the invitation is to try to be 60, 70% inward, even while you're doing whatever has to be managed outwardly. Those of you listening to this, not in real time, but in the real time of you listening or watching this, do the same thing. Be inward as you leave the field, as you step out in the content of your life. And for those who are in the physical retreat, you'll be supported because there won't be your own life, but there will be each other. There'll be the structure of Mundekulla and the preparing of the meals and the work that has to be required and the weather and whatever else may arise. So be inward. Silence takes you to stillness. Stillness is not just the unmoving body. Stillness is the presence itself. You're in the gap between before the retreat and after the retreat. You're in this extended now. Keep touching into that. Make that available to you during that 24 hours to whatever extent you can stay present, stay awake, and to choose. So you begin practicing here, right now. I will not be saying any chant after our silent sittings. I will namaste and leave the room. Once I leave, then you're free to stay where you are or to move. But when you do so, especially when you're in a group of others, do so slowly and quietly so as to not to disturb those who are choosing to stay. And feel free to stay as long as you feel to. Let us begin.